up, guys? Today I wanted to go over a video idea by a user whose name I completely forgot, so I'm so sorry. And that is, why do girls cry? Well, to tackle this in a fair manner, I am going to keep my personal triggers away from this video and I'll create a separate one at some point. But I will point out the instances in which I have seen girls crying and what triggered it. So let's go way back. When I was in middle school, I had a friend who I was, of course, particularly tight with. I used to call her my best friend at the time. And I remembered that she struggled with depression and she was sharing it with me. And one of the things that she told me that makes her particularly sad and cry to the point that we would be on the phone and she would be, crying was frustrations that have a social origin. So, say she was with a guy who she, of course, liked at the time, and this was in our eighth grade year. And she was telling me about the rocky aspects of their relationship. And she was telling me that aside from that, she also felt lonely. Um, and she would just cry because she just, no matter what she did to make herself better, nothing was really helping her, nothing was really working for her. And then little did I know that about a year after we had this conversation, I would start struggling myself. Not to the extent that she was with like a boyfriend or anything. It's just that that's when my own personal symptoms started displaying to where I had to go to a guidance counselor and then they would refer me to therapy, which I never went. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, so in this instance, this particular girl was crying over a social frustration. And on some aspects, it was caused by a guy. On other aspects, it was just her personal experience. And then another instance that I know that girls cry is when when they feel that something is going to happen and they fear for the safety of those that they love. Like, I know someone who has their husband in the military, so she cries every time he gets deployed because, the military is a dangerous thing. You just don't know when you're coming back, how you're coming back, or if you're coming back. So I too, as a person who tends to be a little bit on the overly attached side, I know that that would trigger for me to cry, especially if I'm really extremely close with this guy, such as a marriage. So I can see why that would trigger your tear ducts to just overflow during that time. Um, Another common thing that girls cry about has to be successes, exciting news, and stuff. And honestly, as a person who has gone through that, I think that what happens with that is that um, you have like this sweet, warm feeling overcoming you. So you just cry. And it's probably because we are wired to our emotions so heavily. So that's one of those examples of, yeah, the girl is crying, but it's not a bad thing. It's tears of joy. There is such a thing. It may be confusing if it's something that you don't experience for yourself. So when I do my personal video, I will try to dive a little deeper into it. But as I brush over it, that's me attempting to explain why I think that provokes tears. Um, in addition, another thing that I've heard girls cry over very often is when things don't go their way, and it's because I don't know if I happened to just meet a lot of people who obsess like me and they have anxiety or some form of anxiety, but some girls tend to cry if their plans do not come out exactly how they had planned it. And to explain that, I guess it's because we focus on details so much to make things come out perfect that if it doesn't pan out, we get frustrated because we think that we have failed entirely. It could be one very minimal detail that gets missed or just can't happen, but our entire world crumbles, and it's because, we have a vision in our mind. So to see it not come to reality despite our effort is kind of a big blow. So I know that for guys, that may not be big of a deal because you guys know about building something up and then tearing it down. So only to rebuild it in a better way. But for girls, it's like it takes us a little longer to get over that initial feeling of incompleteness. So maybe that's what it is. But then again, this is me trying to interpret the behaviors of other people. So that's why it is so important for me to make a separate video where I delve into my own psychology, because I know that my opinions tend to be very different from other people's perceptions. So I want to keep this fair. And then what else do girls cry for? Of course, the natural stuff like losing a loved one. That'll tear anybody up. Um, but yeah, overall, I think it's, as women, we're just really emotionally oriented. So I guess we just have physically, we must have some kind of difference when it comes to how we are designed too. Like, I feel like I cry more quickly than the other people around me. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, you ever notice yourself and your blinking patterns? Sometimes I notice that I can go at many minutes without blinking, but then at other times I suddenly find myself blinking a lot, and I'm like, why is that happening? So I don't know if physically there is a reason for that. I know that girls blink on average more than guys. So I wonder if our physical composition is what affects us and also makes us, given that we are emotionally inclined creatures anyway, maybe the way that we are physically designed also triggers tears to flow greatly, I'm not sure, guys. At this point, I don't know what else to say. Those are some of the experiences that I have with girls crying when they're around me. So basically, um, strong emotions such as sad events, that'll tear us up. And then social frustrations, it's like a feeling of being, like a feeling of impotence, to name it something. So yeah, guys, that's honestly it. That's all that I can think about when it comes to this issue. I never thought about this. So if it wouldn't have been for the user whose name I totally forgot, so I'm sorry, then this video wouldn't be uh, getting made right now. So I promise that if I remember something substantial, I'll do a follow up video and be like, yeah, guys, I completely failed and neglected um, this point. But for right now, yeah, that's all I have really. I think I will do a better job speaking for myself as opposed to trying to explain the behavior of an entire group of people. And maybe I'll discover that what I experience, what makes me cry, may go hand in hand with a broader spectrum than what I'm thinking. Because sometimes I think that because I have had a very limited exposure to social situations, then what I think is particularly rare or unique to me is actually quite normal. So keep that in mind when you watch my video of why I cry or what makes me cry. So, anyways, guys, that's all that I have for right now, what do you know about girls that triggers their crying? Or are you the reason why some girls cry? Because it is possible. So, anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts. If you have any stories, or if anything that I just said is pretty consistent with what you know from girls who you've met who cry too, if this is what triggers them, let me know. I'm interested in finding out about this because I really have not had that many experiences of girls crying in front of me. I know that they were sad or distraught by some things, but I'm not sure if that triggered tears coming from them. Um, Cause yeah, I don't have any recollection of anyone else crying in my presence except for this best friend of mine, which was over the phone, and another time was when we were hanging out in school together. So yeah, let me know. I'm really curious about this one. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.